So, Myles, we have this opportunity to talk about the enabling manager. What is it that makes this book so timely from your point of view?
There are three factors which are playing into this. One of which is that for many, many years now, we're talking 20 years or so, there's been a shift in attitude towards work. We hear about the millennials and how they're difficult to manage. But push underneath that, what you find is that something very much more positive. People, wanting work that's meaningful, wanting to have more autonomy, wanting to work where and when they want. And the fear has been that those people will be more difficult to manage. But we've been struggling under an approach to management, namely command and control, which is, basically the history of the last century of management and leadership is the history of command and control, which doesn't get the best out of people. It suppresses people. So, and then what you have is a third factor, which is that in the last couple of years we've had the pandemic. And what that is, it's accelerated some of those drives, some of those needs. So actually, we've got to a point where the time is right for a significant shift that releases potential in the workplace. And as we've spoken about it, we've spoken about the shift from command and control to align and enable.
Yeah, one of the things that really stood out to me, horrified me even, sort of previous management was from scientific management, the idea of calling workers soldiers, and the idea that a soldier would only ever work to the level at which they could escape punishment. And that this was the basis on which we've then built 20th century management principles. And you only have to say that out loud to realize if we keep going down that line, we're in so much trouble. So moving to that model of align and enable is so much better and so timely. So from command and control to align and enable, tell me a little bit more about that. Do you want to unpack that a little bit for us?
Yeah, and this isn't something that kind of occurred overnight as a new idea. Others have been working in organizations for many years, trying to introduce an element of coaching into that culture. So there was a genuine process of enabling others around and about. But it never really stuck, because what we were missing was how do you control those? How do you maintain appropriate control? So align and enable is about aligning. Aligning means that there is an alignment at the highest level between what the organization is about, its mission, its vision, its higher level goals, and what is meaningful for the individual. If you can get that, then you start getting motivation to do it. This also means that there's an alignment in what the individual team member does between those higher level goals and their day-to-day tasks. So that requires thought. Those are the principal pieces of alignment. And they require, people being held to account to what they promise to deliver. And then on the other hand, you have the enable piece, which is largely a coaching approach, so that people own their work, take responsibility for their work, think through their plans for themselves, so that they're in a place where they can act.
Yeah, I remember years ago a friend who worked for a soft drinks company, and the joke was that on your first day you had a blood transfusion where they replaced all your blood with this particular soft drink, and that, again, today's workforce just isn't going to play with that game anymore. And so that idea of aligning not just to the business's needs, but to that which is meaningful and purposeful for the individual, and then enabling them to do their work, use their expertise, bring their personality to their work. It's so empowering for today.
Yeah.
And within that, then there's obviously loads of benefits, both for the business and for the individual. How would you outline those benefits?
Well, let's take the kind of individual team member first, because so first of all, there's a higher chance that the work will be meaningful and rewarding. So that I, as that team member, will have greater enjoyment at work, will have greater engagement in the workplace, and the learning and development will come out of the coaching approach. So I'm seeing myself progress within the place of work, which is critical for most people in these days, is that they can see that line of progression. And then from the organization's point of view, you've got a much more aligned workforce. You've got people taking greater responsibility for what they're doing. You have people being more effective and efficient. And so, therefore you get the engagement that most organizations crave. And therefore you get that kind of vacuum suck that has people, as your firm, look like a decent place to work.
Yeah. So really timely book that's been a pleasure to write together.
Seems so.